this can only end one way if Iran continues to react the way that it's done, particularly if, as it brings in all the other Gulf states.
These Gulf Arab family dictatorships, they host U.S. bases, and those bases are being used against Iran. So they are complicit in the murder of Iranians. The leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, he was martyred because he stayed at home. And he said, I'm not leaving my office and my home because many Iranians have nowhere to go, and so I cannot leave.
Many dictators throughout history were not necessarily driven by personal evil. Instead, they followed ideologies that were evil. Many genuinely believed they were acting for the good of their people, or even for the good of humanity. In their minds, they were building a better world. Their visions of a utopian future often seem so noble that they convinced themselves that cruelty, oppression, and violence were justified as necessary steps to achieve it.
And despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts.
If you had interviewed Hitler, Stalin, or Osama bin Laden, each of them would have had arguments to justify their actions. They were not speaking incoherently, the way an irrational or deranged serial killer might. Their explanations were often structured, deliberate, and internally reasoned. But if they weren't speaking nonsense, does that mean their arguments actually made sense? The answer is, their arguments were logically consistent, but only within a particular ideological framework. Once you accept the premises of that ideology, its conclusions could appear rational. The problem was not the logic itself, but the worldview on which that logic was built. Narratives reflect a worldview. Truth reflects the world as it exists outside our minds. Truth is ruthless precisely because it mirrors reality rather than our mental constructs. Reality does not bend to our stories, beliefs, or intentions. For example, I could construct a very compelling argument for why jumping off a cliff would allow me to fly. I could say that human beings deserve absolute freedom, and that true freedom should not be constrained by something as arbitrary as gravity. I could claim that my spiritual leader is pure like an angel, and that, like angels, he has the power to fly. I could even argue that if I jump off the cliff and die, it merely means I will enter a better world where all good souls live in peace. Yet nature does not care about any of these mental constructs. If I jump off a cliff, I will not fly. I will simply fall and die.
Marandi, welcome back to Uncensored. What is your reaction to what has happened in your country?
Well, just like 9 months ago, when the Iranians were negotiating with the Trump regime, the United States was secretly collaborating with the Netanyahu regime to carry out a blitzkrieg attack. And Witkoff, who was negotiating with the Iranians, initially said that enrichment is acceptable, but he was lying, obviously.
Before the US carried out Operation Midnight Hammer, the Trump administration publicly signaled a negotiation window. Donald Trump and his administration said Iran had a short period, often described as about 2 weeks, to reach an agreement. When negotiations stalled and Iran did not accept the conditions, the US launched the strikes.
To resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades.
The Iranian regime has never been an honest broker in negotiations because it views the United States as an enemy in a cosmic struggle between good and evil. In this worldview, negotiating with the US is like negotiating with the devil. Because of this ideological lens, the regime does not approach negotiations as a genuine effort to reach compromise. It treats them as tactical games, ways to buy time, gain advantages, and deceive an enemy it believes is morally illegitimate. These beliefs also distort its strategic judgment. Apocalyptic and ideological narratives encourage the regime to overestimate its own power and underestimate the military and economic strength of the United States. As a result, negotiations become a tool for delay and manipulation rather than a path to real agreement. The regime operates within a moralized and delusional framework in which deception is justified because the opponent is seen as evil. The reality is that negotiations with regimes like the Islamic Republic cannot truly work if their long-term objective is the destruction of the United States. This situation is analogous to the failed diplomacy between Neville Chamberlain and Adolf Hitler before World War II, when agreements were used by Hitler not as commitments to peace, but as opportunities to gain time and strategic advantage.
This journey may open the way to get it.
When Mr. Chamberlain left on his journey to Gettysburg, he flew in the face of criticism that he was truckling to Hitler. That is one of those charges which there is no opportunity of answering until the full sequel is known. We do know, however, that the Germans themselves have acquired a healthy respect for our Prime Minister. Hitler, of course, is the idol of his country. He it is who has restored Germany's power and pride. But in millions of German hearts, Mr. Chamberlain represents the man who wants...
If it comes to a shooting match, as it currently is, how can Iran possibly expect to withstand the United States military? That's before we involve the Israelis. So do you accept that militarily this can only end one way if Iran continues to react the way that it's done, particularly if, as it brings in all the other Gulf states and is attacking all its neighbors, as Iran has been doing, actually it's achieving the opposite of what it would have hoped to have done. It's rallying the Gulf states behind Israel and America.
Well, first of all, these Gulf Arab family dictatorships, they host U.S. bases, and those bases are being used against Iran. So they are complicit in the murder of Iranians.
By the same logic, the Islamic regime in Iran is complicit in the actions of its proxy forces, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthi movement, which it arms, funds, and trains. The real reason the Iranian regime targets countries across the region, including neighbouring Arab states, and even places that have maintained relatively cooperative relations with Tehran, such as Qatar, Turkey, and Oman, is rooted in asymmetric warfare. The strategy is to expand the battlefield and raise the cost of conflict for the United States and its allies until it becomes politically and economically unbearable. By spreading instability across the region and targeting infrastructure, shipping, and civilian environments, the regime attempts to impose pressure far beyond conventional military confrontation. In logic and in effect, this approach closely resembles the methods of terrorism, attacking vulnerable targets, creating fear, and forcing adversaries to bear costs indirectly. It demonstrates that the Islamic regime is willing to escalate conflict in almost any way necessary to prevail, even if that means harming innocent people and spreading chaos throughout the region. This is precisely why such governments should never be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons.
Earlier to you guys, isn't that what you Iranians did with Hezbollah, where you used their territory to launch attacks against Israel? Then when Israel responded, you didn't say they had any legitimacy, did you? Sounds a bit hypocritical.
They can't have their cake and eat it too. They
Neither can
cannot be
you.
a part of aggression and say that we are neutral. With regards to the number 40 that you say, that is American propaganda. The White House is always saying all sorts of nonsense. Far less people were killed this time round than last time round. The leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, he was martyred because he stayed at home. And he said, I'm not leaving my office and my home because many Iranians have nowhere to go, and so I cannot leave. And he chose to stay, even though everyone knew that he would be a primary target.
If that was the case, why did he supposedly also choose for the above people to die with him? His wife, reported as Mansour Khamenei, who died shortly after the strike from injuries, one of his daughters, his son-in-law, a grandchild, reportedly a 14-month-old baby. The wife of his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, Zahra. Mojtaba's teenage son, Mohammad Bagher.
Like your leaders and the Epstein class in your country, which do all sorts of things to ordinary people, he stood with his people and he stayed with his people. And that's why he's so popular. And unlike the propaganda that we see on your show all the time with these insane pundits who've never been to Iran, who know nothing about Iran, who just repeat these Epstein class talking points. The Iranian people are steadfast and standing beside and behind the Islamic Republic.
The Islamic regime in Iran is deeply hated by the vast majority of the Iranian people, as shown by the waves of protests and demonstrations in recent years. It is a ruthless dictatorship that maintains power through fear, repression, and indoctrination. The regime systematically crushes dissent. Critics and protesters face imprisonment, torture, and execution. Public hangings are used as a tool of intimidation. Reports of abuse, including sexual violence against detainees, have further exposed the brutality of the system. The government has failed to provide even the most basic necessities for its population. In many regions, people struggle with access to safe drinking water and reliable infrastructure, while internet access is heavily restricted to limit the free flow of information. At the same time, members of the ruling elite live in comfort and privilege, often maintaining homes and wealth abroad, far removed from the daily hardships faced by ordinary citizens.
Last night I dreamt of San Pedro, just like I'd never gone. I knew the song, young girl with eyes like the desert. It all seems like yesterday, not far away.
And as we speak, across Tehran, under missile fire, you see huge crowds of people in different parts of the city protesting against the United States and calling for the armed forces to resist. And might does not make right. As I learned from school. Children know this. We are in the right. Your regime, your government, the American regime, they supported the Holocaust in Gaza, the ongoing Holocaust in Gaza. We stood against
Okay, the point I would make.
No matter how,
let me respond. Let me respond.
No matter how you try to frame it and pretend that we killed in Iran tens of thousands of people on the streets and all that.
You did. You did kill tens of thousands.
Fake media propaganda. The reality is the reason why Iran is hated is because we're against ethnic cleansing. We're against ethno-supremacism. And that is something that the Epstein class that rules over all of you cannot tolerate.
The Islamic Revolution in Iran is not a rational project driven by genuine protest against Western imperialism, a genuine concern about Palestinian ethnic liberation and human rights. The Islamic Revolution in Iran is a civilizational project meant to replace the liberal world with the Shia Islamic world order. They are deluded religious zealots who see the world as a cosmic battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. The leadership of the Islamic Republic views the world through an absolutist religious framework. In their ideology, global politics is not merely a competition between states, but a cosmic battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. The Islamic Republic casts itself and its allies as the defenders of justice and divine truth, while portraying Western liberal societies as corrupt, decadent, and hostile to God's order. This worldview is rooted in the apocalyptic theology of Twelver Shia Islam. According to this belief, history is moving toward the return of the 12th Imam, the hidden Mahdi, who will appear at the end of times to establish divine justice across the world. Within the revolutionary ideology of the regime, the Islamic Republic sees itself as the instrument meant to prepare the ground for this transformation. In this vision, the revolution is not limited to Iran. It is meant to expand, inspire, and reshape the political and moral foundations of the world. The ultimate goal is the creation of a global order governed by Shia Islamic principles, replacing the liberal system that currently dominates international politics. In this framework, the explanation of why the Islamic regime has in its constitution as a fundamental principle the destruction of Israel and the US is not because they are champions of human rights or they seek the national liberation of Palestinians. Palestine is theologically significant and is geographically located in the center of the caliphate.
Islam is a supremacist religion. It says that the world must be fully and wholly Islamic. Islam conquers places. The quicker the United States and the West realizes this, the better off we'll all be.
First and most and last goal is to re-establish that Khilafah. My hope and pray it is coming soon. We hope and pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that this will not be too long and the world will come and live under justice with our system of Khilafah, inshallah.
Khilafah is not a pragmatic obligation. It is a religious obligation.
Obviously, in order to fully implement the Sharia on a state level, there has to be a khilaf.
People talking about establishing Islamic superpower, I mean, how?
Yeah.
It's all I'm saying. People have tried. The Taliban tried in the 90s. ISIS tried. Al-Qaeda tried.
You want a Khilafah tomorrow.
On Earth, the Caliph fights the non-Muslim world, called the House of War.
It's a mistake to think that he is like the Pope of the Muslims. He is a political and military leader that under him all the Islamic world is united, and of course the war and the fighting against the Christian world would be far easier.
Today, the jihadist offensive in the Middle East stretches from Gaza to Iraq.
It's all part of an offensive move by forces that may have different names: ISIS, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, what have you. But they're all on a mission.
And the caliphate's primary business is to expand territory and bring infidels under its authority. And that's what it did historically.
One of the policies of the Islamic State is jihad, or the foreign policy rather is to expand the borders of the Islamic State. So very soon, my dear brothers and sisters, we're going to see the Khilafah expand into Jordan, into Saudi Arabia, onto the shores of Europe, and one day Obama, he will witness his own country be run by the Sharia, inshallah.
Sacrificing and spilling and losing their own blood and their own health, going to prison, traveling the lands, fighting jihad, working to establish the Khilafah under us.
By Khilafah, by Sharia, by Jihad. He implemented the Sharia. He united the Ummah behind the Khalifa. No doubt the Ummah will be united. And the humiliation the kuffar will face will be far worse than what's happened before. And the victory this Ummah will taste.
Sharon says Jerusalem is the prize and world domination their goal.
Islam came to conquer the world. Conquered the entire world.
Ottomans, as the shield of the Ummah, defeated the British twice. If you want to bring back Khilafah...
Don't get angry at me that, hey, we don't have a caliphate. I'm sorry, okay. People talking about establishing Islamic superpower, I mean, how?
Yeah.
It's all I'm saying.
Allah promised that He will make you rulers upon the earth.
The caliphate is a government, a state, which rules by the Quran and Sunnah, and there is one leader. And that state has borders, but those borders they expand and they literally annex other countries until the whole world is literally under that governing authority.
Islam is supposed to keep expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding until it takes over the entire world.
Islam is very clear, the Quran is very clear, the Hadith is very clear. All humankind must submit under Islam, period.
See, Islam is not just about your own individual submission to Allah. It is about that profound mission of subjugating all of creation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The whole purpose of the jihad of offense is that we want to spread the word of Allah.
Offensive jihad means what? It means when you have the power as a Muslim country, when you have the power, you have the money, you have the army, and you're able to go and invade another country, a non-Muslim country. You invade this non-Muslim country and you come and put the sword on the heads of the people. You say to them, Aslim taslam. Submit, become Muslim or you'll die. They say to you, no, I don't want to become Muslim. You say to them, all right, you have to pay the jizya. Okay, you don't want to pay the tax, then you'll get killed. This is the offensive jihad.
The verse of the sword. And this is where the Prophet receives the command to fight against the people of the book until they submit and pay the jizya.
Islam does endorse conquest through jihad. That's clear in the Quran and in Muslim history.
To fight the people until they accept the religion or to pay taxation. And this is clearly mentioned in chapter 9. Okay. So you have to fight them until they give the taxation. In Islam, when we conquer a country, of course there's nothing peaceful about it.
Jihad al-talab, and that's what has to do with da'wah. What triggers this jihad, by the way, is conveying Islam to non-Muslims. That you go out there to a community and you let them know, listen, I need to let your people know about Islam. You have three choices. Fight, jizya, or you allow us in.
You have to fight them is because they are Jews and Christians. You should fight those empires around you, or those hukumat around you, which are Jew or Christian, until they give the jizya. That's fine. That we already know Islam allows.
Until Islam prevails and we become victorious
and we will rule the whole world.
Allah sent us for what? To get a green card, or to try to get a job, or get on welfare, or get housing? No. Either we're going to be victorious over you or be in Jannah. Two options. That's it. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. Victory or Shahada. This is how the Sahaba thought. If not, then you pay the jizya. And we establish the laws of Allah. And if not, then there's the sword. And that's how they thought. Right? So when they took on this responsibility, Allah gave them victories, and Allah gave them honor, and Allah gave them the dominance on 3 continents. But when we cower, and when we sell out, and when we get too busy, and when we become apologetic and compromising and this and that, no, our da'wah has to be uncompromising, unapologetic, unrelentless. Our da'wah has to be upon the kitab and the sunnah and the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. In that time there were battles, but now we don't have battles. No, yeah, we sure do, yeah. No, sorry. Rasulullah ﷺ said that the risk of this ummah will be under the swords of shades till the day of judgment, right? Or on the back of horses, another narration, right? So you can't change the religion. Ma alayna illa balaghul mubin. It is not upon us except to convey the message clearly.
As we are here and we're living in the US, most of us, right? Some of us are from the UK, all right? As we're here and living in the US, what is our role now? What is the way forward? Let me just quote for you an ayah of the Quran, and I'm going to try to encapsulate it with this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تُطِعِ الْكَافِرِينَ. Allah is saying, do not obey the disbelievers. Don't yield to them. And then He gives us the process of what to do next. وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. And so make jihad against them. Level number 1, intellectual da'wah, intellectual jihad. Level number 2, which is very interesting, strategic thinking. So number 2 is strategic thinking. He says the lowest, aqal, the lowest form of jihad is getting up and fighting.
Because this is what we're doing out here. We're fighting a jihad in the media. It is an ideological one.
We too have an agenda. We too spread propaganda.
I've been teaching propaganda for the last 5 years at the University of Miami.
We're in the business of propaganda, whether we like to admit it or not. And so the question is, do people want a revolution, an actual revolution, a real revolution? Do they want to be revolutionary?
So we get involved in media to make sure Islam is shown positively.
The Muslims, I think that they have a pretty peaceful religion. They get a really bad rap in the media.
Americans don't know anything. We know after 9/11, I think about it now, the propaganda to make me afraid of Muslims.
Viable is if we're living here to shift this country's political direction and spiritual direction together.
Because we decided to tweet about it, because we decided to because we decided to do da'wah at last instead of sleeping, what happened was Trump instead went to the Iranians and said to them, listen, I need a way out. I'm going to send 2 bombers. They're going to bomb, but what did Israel say? These 3 sites. Your scream, your voice, it has power. It shifted an entire US foreign policy.
What are your views on Islam?
How's it going in the UK? Those are my views. It's amazing to me that people think that somehow if you bring people that actually hate Western civilization to Western civilization, they're just going to warm up to it and say, we'll coexist peacefully even though everything you do sickens us?
Well, they will coexist peacefully until the demographic changes are enough that they know... Until
I view America as the last stand for Western civilization. It's why it was so important for us to show a sign of support in Israel. They are our only allies in the Middle East.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying principle.
They're an ally, right? They both.
I don't know what that means to be an ally.
Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. The largest American air base in the Middle East is in Qatar. They're a close ally.
Islam is bad, and I was like, sounds bad, whatever. I don't know if I ever met a Muslim, but he's like, you know what Islam means? Submission. And let it hang in the air. That was self-evidently disgusting. And I was like, I kind of think submission to God is the whole point of life, but I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't think I'm against that. actually.
Terrorist acts every day. Why are people coming to this country in the name of Islam killing Americans? And don't you think you should pause for a minute and reflect on what's going wrong within your community?
Representative Hassan Shibli is not happy that his name is found on the U.S. government terrorist watch list. So he and his organization are suing the federal government to get rid of the list. However, there's a good reason that the list exists, and many good reasons for Shibli to be on it. And he made that case even stronger by meeting with and helping to fundraise for convicted Palestinian Islamic Jihad member Hatem Fareed.
Well, no Epstein class rules over me. And the difference between me and you is I'm able to look at our leadership, from our Prime Minister to our former UK ambassador to America to the former Prince Andrew, and I'm able to publicly criticise them and say I find all of them, frankly, pretty deplorable and shameful to their country in the way they conduct themselves. You would never say that about your supreme leader, because had you said that on the airways...
How do you know?
Well, hang on, because had you called your
house, sorry guys, it's not the cleaning day. How he knows, because your regime hangs teenagers for Facebook posts, hangs people in the street publicly. And it will tolerate you going public and saying things against the regime. How he knows? Because we have seen hundreds of videos. I mean, the levels of this is not lies, my friend. You are a total idiot. Or are you? Because there are fools in the radical left that actually believe what you say. So you are not an idiot, in fact. In fact, you know perfectly how to manipulate the morons of the radical left. The West. The state of the West, due to the radical left, they can actually believe what you say. It's remarkable, but this thing is happening. Guys, the mere fact that this person can go in front of a camera and say these things, and there are people believing him, it's the state of the Western world as we speak. Okay, due to the radical left.
Wings are howling louder. My mind has slipped away on a journey heading home to the edge of the heavens. I was searching for your love, but I couldn't find you. Still I'm clinging to my hope, and I'm right behind you. But if I don't make it home, with my last fading breath, I will hum our song. Cast the stars on your bed before I fade alone. Wear a crown of thread like a halo. Your halo. Finally be where I belong, where I belong. Shadows growing longer, the light begins to fade. I'm still chasing all the dreams that we kept distance before the silence pulls me in. I won't stop calling every heartbeat that you breathe. Will keep me going, but if I don't make it home,